Have you ever thought about grace as a free pass? You know, that little voice in the back of your head that says, it's okay, you can mess up, God's grace will cover it. It's a common thought, and honestly, it's a misunderstanding that can keep us stuck. Today, I want to flip that idea on its head and look at grace not as a safety net for our mistakes, but as God's divine training program for our lives. Let's dive into a powerful passage from the Bible, Titus chapter 2, verses 11 and 12. It says this, "For the grace of God has appeared that offers salvation to all people." It teaches us to say no to ungodliness and worldly passions, and to live self-controlled, upright, and godly lives in this present age. Let's break that down. The first part is amazing. The grace of God has appeared that offers salvation to all people. This is the part we love to talk about. It's the free gift, the unmerited favor. It's Jesus stepping into our mess, paying a price we could never pay, and offering us a relationship with God that we absolutely do not deserve. This grace is what saves us. It finds us where we are, lost and broken, and brings us into the family of God. Without this grace, we'd have no hope. It's the foundation of everything. It's the starting line of our faith journey. But notice what the verse says next. It doesn't stop at salvation. It continues. It teaches us. This is the part we sometimes skim over. Grace has a purpose beyond just getting us through the gates of heaven. It's an active, living force in our lives right now. The Greek word for teaches here is paiduo, which is really interesting. It doesn't just mean to instruct, like a professor giving a lecture. It means to train, to discipline, to educate a child. It implies a hands-on, character-shaping process. Think of a coach training an athlete or a parent guiding their child. It's not just about information. It's about formation. So grace is our divine coach. It's our personal trainer for the soul. And what is it training us to do? The verse is very specific, to say no to ungodliness and worldly passions. Let's be real, that's hard. We live in a world that bombards us with messages that are the exact opposite. Ungodliness isn't just about the big, obvious sins. It's anything that pushes God out of the picture, our pride, our selfishness, our desire for control. Worldly passions are those cravings that are rooted in this temporary world, not in eternal values. It's the constant pursuit of more money, more approval, more pleasure, more stuff. Our culture screams, say yes to whatever feels good. You deserve it. And right in the middle of all that noise, grace steps in and quietly, firmly teaches us the power of a single word. No, this is a radical idea. Grace empowers us to resist. It gives us the strength to turn away from the very things that used to control us. It's not about mustering up our own willpower. If we could do it on our own, we wouldn't have needed grace in the first place, right? This is a supernatural strength. It's the Holy Spirit working within us, changing our desires, and giving us the backbone to stand firm when temptation comes knocking. When you feel that pull toward an old habit, that urge to gossip, that temptation to stretch the truth, or that desire to indulge in something you know isn't good for you, that moment is a training opportunity. Grace is right there whispering, "You don't have to go down that road anymore. I've made you for more than this. Let me help you say no." But grace doesn't just teach us what to say no to. It also teaches us what to say yes to. The verse goes on, "and to live self-controlled, upright, and godly lives in this present age." This isn't about becoming a boring, rule-following robot. This is about becoming the person God created you to be, fully alive, fully human, reflecting His character in the world. Let's look at those three qualities. First, self-controlled. This means having a sound mind, being sober-minded, and not being controlled by our impulses or emotions. It's the ability to pause before we react, to think before we speak, to choose our actions deliberately rather than being driven by every whim and feeling. In a world of instant gratification, self-control is a superpower, and it's a fruit of God's Spirit working in us through grace. Second, upright. This speaks to our relationships with other people. It means living with justice, integrity, and fairness. It's about being honest in our dealings, treating people with respect and dignity, being a person of your word. It's living in a way that is right and true in the eyes of others, not just in our own. It's about our public witness. And third, godly. This is about our relationship with God. It's a life of reverence, of piety, of putting God first. It's cultivating a heart that loves what He loves and hates what He hates. It's making time for prayer, for His word, for worship, not because it's a chore, but because you desire to be close to Him. It's a life oriented around Him. And notice the time frame for all this, in this present age. This isn't about waiting until we get to heaven to get our act together. This transformation is for right here, right now. God wants us to live these transformed lives in our workplaces, in our families, in our neighborhoods today. Our lives are meant to be a living, breathing demonstration of God's power to change people from the inside out. So if grace is truly at work in our lives, there should be evidence. There should be growth. It might be slow. It will definitely be imperfect. We will still stumble, but the direction of our lives should be changing. The things we used to love, we start to love a little less. The things of God, we start to desire a little more. We become a little more patient, a little more kind, a little more honest. That's grace in action. That's the training paying off. It's so important to get this right. If we see grace as just a license to sin, we rob it of its power to transform us. It becomes a cheap, hollow thing. But when we see grace as God's training program, it becomes this incredible dynamic partnership with Him. He provides the power, the curriculum, and the coaching, and our part is to show up for training each day. So let's make this super practical with a little challenge for today. I want you to think about one area in your life, just one where you've been hiding behind this idea of cheap grace. Maybe it's a small recurring habit like the way you talk about a coworker. Maybe it's an attitude like cynicism or complaining. Maybe it's a situation where you consistently choose comfort over courage. We all have these areas. Be honest with yourself and with God. Now, here's today's move. Instead of just giving in and saying, "Oh well, God will forgive me," I want you to let grace train you in that moment. When the temptation or the old pattern shows up today, I want you to pause. Just take a breath, and in that pause, consciously choose to do the God-honoring thing instead. Choose discipline. Choose obedience. If it's gossip, choose to say something positive or just stay quiet. If it's a lazy attitude, choose to do that one task with excellence. If it's a moment of anger, choose to respond with patience. Just once. The goal isn't perfection for the rest of your life. The goal is one small act of obedience. Today, powered by His grace, because small obedience still counts. It's like doing one rep at the gym. One rep doesn't build the muscle, but it's the start. It's you showing up for training. Every time you cooperate with the training of grace, you get a little stronger, you build spiritual muscle, and over time, those small acts of obedience create new habits and a new character. Remember, grace doesn't just save you, it shapes you. It doesn't just pardon you, it partners with you. It's the power of God working in you to make you more like Jesus. So let's stop using it as an excuse and start seeing it as our training ground. Let's show up for practice today and let our divine coach do His transforming work in us. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I hope this encourages you to see God's grace in a new and powerful way. If this video was helpful, feel free to like it and subscribe for more content like this. Let's go out and live it.